March. It is March Math. A fun little alliteration we can say all this month. It's time for March Math. Okay, second grade, so today in math, we are going to continue working with those awesome place value skills we've been spent so much great time on. The past couple weeks, we've been looking to change numbers by ones, tens, or hundreds. We've been working with just single numbers, comparing them to maybe one other number, or changing them on their own. But today, we're expanding that, and we're going to look at groups of numbers altogether. How has a group of numbers been changing by one, tens, or hundreds? So, with that, let's meet our first learning target of March Math. It says, I can identify the pattern to complete a number sequence. I can identify the pattern to complete a number sequence. So like I said, we're going to be taking our skills from just one number and expanding them to a group of numbers. We're going to have to be mathematician detectives today, using our place value skills to look at these groups of numbers and be able to use our decoding skills to solve a problem. And this is going to be based off pattern and sequence. These two big vocabulary words, pattern and sequence. We're going to be looking for a pattern, a clue as detectives, in a sequence, a group of numbers. So let's go more in depth into those two important vocabulary words. So, first up, we've got the word pattern. Can you say that with me? Pattern. Pattern. A pattern is something that repeats. Repeats. It happens again and again. So for example, this is a pattern. There's a repetition, something repeating that we can see. Orange, yellow, square, hexagon, hexagon. The same aspect is happening again and again. And that's what we're going to look for as detectives in our group of numbers. We're going to see the pattern that numbers are changing by ones, tens, or hundreds. That's the skill we will have to be on the lookout for, the pattern we are going to find. The same thing that's happening in each number. And we're going to be looking for a pattern in a sequence of numbers. Can you say this with me? Sequence. One more time. Sequence. Sequence. A sequence is a certain order. The certain way objects or things are arranged from beginning to end. A sequence that we know is the letter order, the letter sequence. A, B, C, D, E. The letters are in a certain order. A is first, and Z is all the way at the end. That's a sequence. But today, of course, it's March Math, so the sequence we'll be working with is numbers. We know the order of numbers is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or we can go backwards in our sequence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Either way, the sequence of numbers has certain numbers that come before and after the last one. And that's what we'll be working with today, a sequence of numbers. So, to start us off, second grade, we're going to practice finding our patterns in a sequence with our place value charts. So, I want you to go ahead. We're just going to use our tools and our charts for a couple problems, but get this out so we can start our detective skills. Okay, you got your chart out and your tools nice and next to you. So, we are going to start our first sequence with the number 266. Can we go ahead and show 266 on our board? Let's see. How many ones will we get? 6 ones. Can you go ahead and show 6 ones? 5 and 1. What about tens? How many tens? 6 tens as well. So the same, 5 and 1. Awesome. How many hundreds? We're going to have 200s. Let's go ahead and show 200s. Okay, awesome people. We have 266 on our board. This is the start of our sequence. So, what I need everyone to do is we're going to count up by ones. We're going to start counting up by ones. Can you count with me? We've got 266, and then 267, 268, 269, and then 270. Can we bundle at 270? Can we bundle? Yes, we can. We can bundle our 10 ones. And what unit will we make? What larger unit will we make? A 10, of course. So go ahead and make sure you've bundled for 110. Okay, we're at 270. I want us to keep counting by ones. So we've got 270, 271, 272. Pause, right there. Okay, second grade, we just counted this sequence, starting at 266 to 272. This is where we've paused. What is the pattern of this sequence of numbers? So second grade, what was changing each time we counted? Which place value were we changing? The hundreds, tens, or the ones? We were counting by ones, exactly. And were we counting up or were we counting down? 6, 7, 8, 9. We were counting up by ones, exactly. So the pattern for this sequence was we were adding 1 every single time. That was what was the same between each number. We were adding 1 every time we counted. It was repeating. That was the pattern. Okay, let's keep counting a new sequence. This time, we're going to start at 272. So leave whatever you have on your board, 272. But this time, we're going to count down by tens. We're going to count down by tens. So that means we're going to take away a 10 every time. So we've got 272. Can you take away tens? Let's start counting. 262, 252, 242, 232, 222, 212, 202. What do we do now? If we want to keep counting, what are we going to do? We have to unbundle a larger unit. So second grade, if we unbundle 100, how many of a smaller unit will we get? We're going to get 10 of a smaller unit. So to keep counting, can you show those 10 of a smaller unit? Awesome. So we unbundled 100 and got 10 tens to keep counting. So this is still 202. But if we count down by tens, we now have 192, 182, 172. Pause right there. Okay, in this sequence of numbers, there was a pattern that we were following. So second grade, when we were counting, what place value was changing? The hundreds, tens, or the ones? We were counting by tens. The tens place was changing every time, which we can see up here in our sequence as well. So, we were counting by tens. We were counting down by tens. Does that mean we were taking away value, or were we adding value every time? We're going from 7, 6, 5, 4. We were taking away value each time. So the pattern of this sequence was that we were subtracting 10 each time. For every single number we counted, it was 10 less each time. That was our pattern. Okay, awesome people. So we've practiced making our own sequence. Now we're going to take a look at a sequence that's given to us and see what we can find. So put away your place value chart and let's check it out. Okay, so looking at this sequence of numbers, they're in a certain order and that follows a pattern. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, follow along as I read the numbers out loud. 930, 920, 910, 900, 890, 880, 870, 860. Okay. Which place value is changing? Ones, tens, or hundreds? Which do you see is changing, is different? Ones, tens, or hundreds? The tens place is changing. We can see the tens place is changing every single time. We went from 3 tens to 2 tens to 1 10 to 0 tens back to 9 tens. So now that we notice the hundreds is what was changing, how were the hundreds changing? Is this sequence counting up? Are the numbers getting bigger? Or are they counting down? The numbers getting smaller? What do you think? 3 tens? 2 tens? 1 10? We're counting down. The numbers are getting smaller every single time. That means our pattern is minus 10. We're subtracting 10 every single time. Each new number we count is 10 less each time. And every jump is the same, so it's a pattern of minus 10 every time. Okay, Super Scholars, we've been awesome detectives looking at these sequences, but now let's see if we can use our pattern finding skills to solve a problem and complete a sequence. So, I need you to get out a whiteboard. We're using a lot of tools today, which is super fun, so I need you to get out a whiteboard for this next part. Oh, but we deserve a break first, so come on, stand up with me so we can move our bodies for March Math. Okay, are you standing up with me? Giving yourself a break? Okay, which one of these would you rather swim with? If you had to swim with an eel or a jellyfish. If you would choose to swim with an eel, you're going to do elephant stops. If you'd rather swim with a jellyfish, you're going to do bunny hops. Which would you choose if you had to pick one? the jellyfish because I think they're a little bit slower. So I'm going to do 5 bunny hops. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job. Thank you so much. Okay, so up here on the board, we have part of a sequence, but another part is missing. It's going to be up to us and our math detective skills to complete this sequence. We will be able to do this correctly because we'll find the pattern in the numbers that are given to us. Even though we only have 2 numbers, we can still find a pattern and find the change that was happening, which we will then use to continue counting and complete the puzzle. So, let's take a look. We've got 143 and 133. What is different between these 2 numbers? 143, 133. What's different? The tens place is what is different between these numbers. We've got 4 tenths and then 3 tenths. I'm going to ask you that second question. Are we counting up, getting bigger, or are we counting down, getting smaller? 4 tenths to 3 tenths. It's less than every time. We're counting down. Each number is 10 less than. We're getting smaller. So knowing that the pattern of this sequence is 10 less than, we can complete the puzzle. We just need to continue counting down by 10, taking away a 10 every time. So can we do this? Can you write on your board with me? We've got 143, 133, and what would the next one be? 123, and then 113, and then 103. We kept taking away a 10 every time we counted because we found that was the pattern. That's what was repeating. Did you make sure to write with me on your board? Awesome, awesome. Okay, so every time we try to solve, we look for, first, what is changing, and second, if we're counting up or down. There's 2 questions we can always ask ourselves. Okay, everybody reset your board so we can go on another hunt. Reset, reset. Okay, Super Scholars, let's look at this sequence. So we've got 2 clues at the beginning, and it's up to us to figure out what's happening. So we've got 297 to 298. Just between these 2 numbers, what changed? The ones place changed. We see these numbers went from 7 ones to 8 ones. Okay, but if we're going from 7 to 8, are we counting up, adding value, or counting down, taking away value? What do you think? We're counting up. We're adding value. So, second grade, if the ones are increasing every time, our pattern is 1 more than. We're adding 1 each time. The pattern is every number is 1 more than. So, with that detective knowledge, we can solve the puzzle. We need to continue counting up by ones. Can you write it with us? Can we count together while you write? So we've got 297, 298. What would be next? 299. If we add one more, second grade, what will we get? 300. Add another one. 301. Exactly. Good job. We can see that our pattern continued and by adding one each time. Woo, woo. Look at all of that awesome skills. Okay, we're ready for our final one. Let's reset our board for the last time so we can look at one last sequence. Okay, so in this sequence, there's different chunks that are taken out. Even though there's different parts, we can still find the pattern and solve the sequence. Let's figure out what do we have, second grade? We've got 409, 709, 809. Looking at these three numbers, there's still only one part that changed. Between these three numbers, what changed? The hundreds place changed. Even though we were skipping a few, the hundreds place was still the only value that changed. 400s, 700s, 800s. And looking at these three numbers, we went from 4, 7, 8. We can still tell, are these numbers going up more than, or are they going down less than? What do you think? They're going up in value, is more than the next. And as the hundreds place was changing, our pattern for this sequence is 100 more than. We're adding 100 to every number, and that stays the same. It's the pattern. So with this knowledge, we can count up by hundreds and complete all the missing chunks of the sequence. Can you do that with me? Right along with me. Can we have 409? If we add 100, we'll get 509, and then 609, 709, 809, 909. We continued to add 100. So with the same awesome skills, we were able to complete just a slightly different looking problem, but solve it just the same. Okay, awesome second grade. This is the last little awesome skill we're going to be working on in this module before our check-ins with me at the end of the week. So right now, it's going to be your turn to work on your dojo worksheet, completing your patterns, and using your math detective skills. So let's get out our dojo sheet and see what your job is today. Okay, mathematicians, your job is going to be to complete the pattern. You're going to take a look at these 4 number sequences and use your detective skills to find out what's the pattern, what's the change that is repeating. That means you have to look at what changed, the ones, tens, or the hundreds, and then how were they changing? Were we counting up or counting down? Asking yourself these key questions as you look at the sequences will help you find the pattern and solve. 1 and 2 have the blanks at the end, but 3 and 4 have the blanks in between the sequence. So you're going to have to solve both of these awesome ways. You can go ahead and mark these numbers if you want. Mark the change that's happening so you can keep track and see. But your job is to complete these sequences following the correct pattern. Are the numbers more than or less than each time? Is it changing by ones, tens, or hundreds? Okay, Super Scholars, welcome to March Math. Let's kick it off with this wonderful worksheet, and I can't wait to see